So this week we discussed about FDI, right, foreign direct investment. We talked about all the benefits, why is it so important to the economy, because it's one of the determining factors of economic growth. Okay, and today, having some discussions about FDI, I will ask you some questions, and then we will have an exercise where we try to prove that mathematically that FDI is really increases output in the world, and it really increases welfare. Okay, so which means that it improves lives of people in the world. Okay, good. Discussion number one. So now I would like to divide it into groups, group 1 and group A and group B. Okay. Majority and minority, no problem. Okay. So now we have to provide some explanations and give me some examples about financial investment and non-financial investment. Okay. Financial and non-financial. Please discuss about financial investment. You discuss about non-financial investment. So what is financial investment? How is it different from non-financial investment? Okay. So now please, you have 1 minute. You can discuss. So yeah, I think you can just join in. Financial and non-financial. Okay, let me ask. I believe you were not even able to open your lecture slides. Okay, so what is financial investment? Yep.
Stocks, bonds, other real estate. It can be like houses or apartments, and of course some things which have value. I mean, it might be gold, it might be like platinum or something like that.
Okay. Why do we consider those stocks, bonds, or the real estate as financial investment?
Because that's like money. So you give for them money, you buy them for money, and they bring you some interest rate, and so you can just make money with your money.
It's like generation of money.
Right, so the input is into the financial resource, and the output also financial return, right? So that return can be as interest rates generated or dividends received, or because of appreciation. Good. So now you have mentioned about stocks, yes? First of all, you said that it's stocks. They are a type of financial investment, right? What is stock?
It's a part of some company. It's some part, little part of some company.
So stocks, it means that it shows the share of a company. Okay? Those stockholders, it means
They are owners
of that percentage that they have, okay, of the company. So it means, and they are decision makers in the processes of production.
No, not all of them are decision makers. So they have special kind of stocks. For example, in Russian it will be контрольный пакет акций.
Uh-huh.
They some kind of other kind, like they differ.
Okay. Good. Yes. Yes. If you go into details, it's true. Okay. Good. And then you have mentioned about bonds. Yeah.
Can you explain what bonds mean?
Yeah. How is it different from stocks?
It doesn't pay you interest.
Huh?
It doesn't pay you interest.
It doesn't pay you interest.
It pays after some. It's like you buy, for instance, stock, a bond of some government. Government usually issues bonds, not companies.
Companies they also issue.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay. When consider the case of government, government needs some money, and then they issue bonds. These bonds are bought by people, and then it's like some obligation. Government takes obligation to return this money after maturity period with some percent. I mean, with some interest.
Interest.
Yes.
So, and how
it
is
doesn't
it
pay
different?
dividends.
Probably bonds don't give you power. Also, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So regarding stocks, you are the owner of the company, and it means that you are active. You play active role in that business. Okay. While as a holder of bonds, you are a passive investor. The only thing that you expect is those interests, okay, in that given period. It can be, variable or fixed, okay? There are conditions. Good. Then someone mentioned about
Mutual funds.
mutual funds, right? Mutual funds, okay. And what is mutual fund?
It's like Berkshire Hathaway. It's a right example of mutual funds. It's fund where people with no knowledge in finance or economics can bring their money, and then they will invest instead of you, but they will have their percent or some profit because they will not do that for free. Yes, and and it's like less risky than stocks because in mutual funds there are experts who know this sphere, and that's why it's less riskier to invest into mutual fund, and then your money will be reinvested into other companies' stocks or bonds.
Good. Yes, very good. So two things, investing to mutual funds, or that a person has two options. One is directly investing, right? Directly buying stocks from the company, or investing through mutual funds, right? So he mentioned that that investor can be less literate about that financial market, which means it's risky to invest without knowledge. So it would be better to invest through mutual funds. One. And another thing, we know that all companies, okay, they are not perfectly correlated with one another. Different types of production, okay, which means if one sector in the economy dies, okay, or experiences economic difficulty, it doesn't mean that the other will feel the same. All right. So therefore, this mutual fund, they invest into different industries, different companies, and once one company, for example, goes bankrupt, still these investors, they will be able to get their money back because there are many other investment projects that give them return. Okay? So it's reducing the risk level through investing mutual funds. Okay? Of course, the return will be less because they provide service. And that gentleman mentioned about real estate, yes? Real estate. Why do we consider it that real estate? Oh, precious metal. Yeah? You mentioned about precious metal. So if country's economy is stable, right? Economy is stable, political life is good, then it means that in that country, real estate prices, with the time, once time passes, it will always appreciate. Okay. Good. There are factors, population grows, and many other factors. Precious metal, because they are scarce resources, yeah. which are needed for people to consume, as those are necklaces and rings that you have, or even in industries, right? We have some industries, they are not able to produce without gold or some other precious metals. It's very important part of production, okay? Good. All right, what about non-financial investment? Non-financial can be its time, okay? Time. So now, what's input? If we can see the time, education. What's input? Is there any financial input?
No.
It depends, right? For example, in our country, in Uzbekistan, because education is free, right? And of course, in university level, if you are smart enough, you can get full scholarship, no problem. Okay? Which means, if you are smart enough, if you spend your time effectively, you will be able to get the highest degree of education without spending money. Okay? Without spending money. So which means that input is non-financial, but return is financial. Because you are a very good expert in your field, you will get a good job and you will be getting high salary. Okay? And we mentioned about some other factors, right? We spend now, but we avoid spending in the future. Can you give me the example?
Sales.
Right? Sales at the end of the season, right? So once it is 50% discount at the end of the season, if we buy it now, which we are anyway planning to buy it in the next season, it means that we are avoiding paying extra 50% of the total price. Okay? Good. Right. Very nice. So next. Now let's consider these 4 types of international financial flows. Okay? To countries. Development assistance, remittance, loans, and foreign investment. Whether it's portfolio or direct, doesn't matter. Okay? 4 types. Now let's consider one country. Okay, let's country A. And actually, if you consider all of these types of financial resources, if one country receives them, they really like it. It's good. Okay, because money is coming. If that money comes, if it's spent properly in the economy, it will, affect positively to the economy, the situation, okay? But based on receiving all of these financial resources, okay, there is level of favorability. Level of favorability. Which one do they prefer more? Some of them, they prefer less, okay? If you consider remittance, if this country A, if they're receiving, a lot of remittance, is it good?
Yes. There is power.
Why is it good?
That's
So remittance, we know that our citizens, right? They are sending to their house family members those, money that they earn. Yeah. And as a result, those people are spending in the economy, so they are consuming more. So our, producers producing more because higher consumption. As a result, the economy is growing. Plus, this remittance, for receiving remittance, countries, they don't pay interest rates, okay? No interest rates. Interest-free financial inflow. Very good. So let me ask you another question. What if this country's economy is dependent on this remittance?
Could you please repeat?
What if this country's economy dependent on remittance inflow?
That's bad.
So what does it indicate? Economy is weak, okay? For example, Americans, right? Do Americans work in other countries rather than the US?
No.
Why not?
No, they work, but there is no majority like
There are thousands of Americans who are working in abroad, okay, as professors or engineers. They are doing, they are working.
But they work in high quality.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, it's still remittance, okay? And they are still sending back money to the US, or they bring it together, or they have it in their accounts. All right? It's remittance. So now, if you compare US, okay, that remittance inflow to the US, the amount, okay, the amount of that in US dollars received by American, okay, and that remittance received by Tajikistani people from their citizens or in abroad, okay, I believe that Americans' remittance inflow to the US is greater than Tajikistan. But if you consider the dependency of these economies of these two countries is very different. American economy does not depend on remittance, okay? If remittance inflow stops, this country's economy, okay, of course there will be a bit, effect, but it will not affect significantly. But if remittance inflow stops to Tajikistan, the entire economy will feel it. Because so many Tajikistanis, they're working abroad, okay? And livelihood now, living standards has improved significantly because of that money that comes from abroad, from their family members, okay? So therefore, they are saying if country is dependent on remittance inflow, it's one strong indicator of weak economy. Okay, good. What about loans? Loans. So one characteristics of loans is you are borrowing that money, and for return you pay high interest rate. Yes, very high interest rate you have to pay. Even though that interest rate is very high, but still countries are borrowing money from other institutions, financial institutions, or countries. Yeah. Good. So is it good for the economy?
It depends.
It depends, like, even USA has a lot of money on their budget, but they still sometimes borrow money from outside.
So their debt, the budget deficit of the US is huge.
Yes.
Okay? But they are borrowing a lot, right? So now it's not our macroeconomic session, unfortunately. For that one, that when you studied the regarding budget case of countries, okay, budget deficit, balanced budget, and budget surplus, then when we studied budget deficit, mainly it also causes due to that borrowed loans, where government, they borrow that money and spend it to the economy. Okay. And the conclusions, once you make it, okay, based on the empirical work that had been done until today, budget deficit is a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay? So US, they have huge amount of debt today, okay? Because they were able to get it. Because the economy is sound. Alright? If the economy is weak, you are not able to get it even. So anyway, but if you consider the very favorability, why countries are borrowing? Because something is wrong with the economy. Okay? There is no enough financial resources to be invested for the sector. And in some cases, if country does not take some preventive measures, okay, to heal the economy by borrowing and investing, that country may experience financial crisis. It's one reason why they try going down and down and down. If government does not do some injections, okay, the economy of the country will become even worse. So it's macroeconomic topic. You will have a chance to study in detail. Okay, good. What about development assistance? Yes. So which group of countries usually receive it?
developing.
Developing, okay? Which means that the infrastructure is not properly established, okay? So which means that economy is relatively weak. All right. So they receive that development assistance with low interest rate in order to build the infrastructure to make economic growth better. Okay. They are receiving, they are happy, but indicates that they are developing country. What about foreign investment?
So that's an injection.
Can you give me any example of a country, okay, any country, where they discourage receiving FDI?
North Korea.
They don't want to receive FDI.
North Korea.
No.
No.
Those Koreans will be the happiest people in the world.
Cuba.
Cuba? No. So the answer is there isn't any. Okay. All countries are very happy to receive those foreign investment. Why? There isn't any country in the world which were able to mobilize their factors of production for 100%. If you consider Japan or Singapore, it's Singapore exceptional case. Mostly they provide service, okay, or that Germany, highly industrialized countries, right? If you go, you can find millions of projects where you can invest and activate some production, factors of production, and do business there. Which means that they are not still able to do it for 100%. So therefore, Germans are also very happy to receive FDI. Okay? Good. So now that we have some statements, please find which statement belongs to which category of financial resources, okay? International. GM owns 25% share of joint venture GM Uzbekistan. Is it development assistance, remittance, loans, or foreign investment?
Foreign investment.
No, that's first development assistance.
It's foreign investment.
Why development?
25% share,
I'm
stocks. Okay? Next. Migrants from Uzbekistan living in Russia sent home this much billions of dollars in 2000. It's remittance, okay? Good. Asian Development Bank delivers a technical assistance grant for feasibility study towards the supply project in Bukhara and Samarkand. Development assistance, which means that irrigation system, okay, is not properly established in Bukhara and Samarkand, okay? Ukraine was able to receive financial resources from IMF to revive the economic growth. Loans, okay, loans. After the 2013, the crisis in Ukraine, after the annexation of Crimea, certain political instabilities happened that time, right? During that time, before that Crimea case. And they were experiencing that political instability, civil war happened, still happening, okay? And as a result, the economy experienced, that recession. In order to revive the economy, they applied for IMF to get loans. So first they provided $18 billion, then they provide more, okay? The total amount, how much they got, I don't know, but still they got it to curb the economy, okay? To help the economy, okay? So now please now watch very short video.
Last year, Kier, a Chinese textile firm that spins yarn, opened this plant in the U.S. state of South Carolina. With it came an investment of more than $200 million and 500 new jobs. In doing so, Kier joined nearly 20 other Chinese firms who have set up shop in this southern U.S. state over the last decade, bringing with them more than $1 billion. That's largely thanks to this man. Lin Qinwei, or John Ling as he's known in the U.S., is a Chinese-American businessman. In 2005, he was sent by South Carolina's Commerce Department to Shanghai to convince firms there to invest here.
Once they see certain companies, leading companies are doing this, many other companies will see maybe there's a reason for us to explore and they'll follow suit.
Ling has now shifted his efforts next door to the state of Georgia and has already produced results. In September, Chinese tire maker Century announced a $530 million project, the biggest Chinese investment in Georgia in history. As part of a competitive incentives package, Century was given 200 hectares of land in the city of LaGrange. But Ling says there are many more reasons why Century and others are coming.
We have the best labor force that you can find in the U.S. and we have the very competitive utility cost structure, and we have quite a strong manufacturing base in this community.
Century's $500 million investment brings with it 1,000 new highly skilled jobs in this town's advanced manufacturing sector. That's Chinese money creating U.S. jobs at a time many Americans are being told their jobs are being shipped abroad.
For a town of our size, 30,000 people, you add 1,000 jobs and then all of the various jobs that come along with that, then it's a very significant investment.
Many people here hadn't heard of the new project, but told us they welcome the Chinese investment.
I think if there's a message to send from LaGrange, it's that we are open for business and we're eager to have more investment, more jobs, and certainly more investment from China and elsewhere around the world.
With Ling actively recruiting them, it's likely we'll see more Chinese firms springing up here very soon. Roby Ruttenberg, CCTV in LaGrange, Georgia.
Okay. I hope the video was very clear. So let me ask you some questions regarding the video.
So, according to this news, right? It's news. So, what do you think? Do Americans expect more FDI flow from China?
Yeah.
So the conclusion was made that they're expecting more to come, yeah? And there is a Chinese-American gentleman over there, yes? John Blink, I think his name. So which means he was sent in 2005 to China, American citizen, to encourage those Chinese businessmen to invest into the U.S. Okay. Was he able to convince them to invest?
Yeah.
Yeah, so more than $1 billion has been already invested. Okay? Good. He was very successful regarding that. Good. So now, second question. Now consider the fact that this news was reported in 2016, 3 years ago. It's old news. Okay? How things have changed since that time? Do Americans still expect that high FDI inflow from China?
Because there will be some tensions between China and America lately. Like it's increasing. They are putting a lot of sanctions to each other. So I think FDI will be lower.
It's already lower.
And it will decrease even more.
Okay. Okay. So right, very nice. Thank you. So in 2016, that the political and economic relationship between the United States and China was very, very fine. Was okay. Okay? So in 2016, new president, President Trump, right? He became the president of the United States. Then a little after, that trade war happened, right? Imposing tariffs by Americans, on the other with retaliation from Chinese side, importing tariffs on American goods, and that trade war happened, and now still it's happening. Yeah? Good. What does that trade war mean? It means that political and economic relationship between the countries now is bad. Okay. So, what do you think? We know what FDI means, right? Foreign direct investment. And another meaning is helping the country that you are investing. So if that, if one economy is, harming the other economy, which means they're harming each other, will those businessmen from each country invest to that other party?
No.
No, right? No. At least those businessmen who know that there is a good, investment project, they will keep aside. Because government does not like it.
And it's risky.
Okay, it's risky too. Okay, it's risky too. Good. So, next question. What is the argument behind President Trump saying China is stealing manufacturing jobs? According to the video, are those Chinese, are they stealing American jobs?
No,
they are
they create.
According to the video, they're creating, right? Creating jobs. Why then, President Trump is saying they are stealing their jobs?
He means like the company production in China,
Yeah.
where there are a lot of like franchise or other companies who came to China, but China is working out very well. There are some kind of secrets between
Maybe.
production, some kind of things.
That's because
So
of
it's like
outsourcing.
about intellectual property. He means that.
Maybe
So,
it's
like,
because
okay.
maybe it's because like look, China has competitive advantage in development and manufacturing almost anything. Yes. And let's suppose that America wants to produce something, some good, which is produced in China. And it's better to customers and companies to import from China. But if they will import, this industry in America will die because it's cheaper to import them. And that's why, like, there will be a lot of jobs which can, like, lost jobs. But if Trump wants to, like, he gave a promise when he was like electing to the president that he will create more jobs and he will like protect American economy from foreign cheap
Foreign competition.
companies. That's why he is trying to shield economy and
Create more jobs.
create more jobs in America, in USA, not like from China.
Okay.
Research.
Okay. Good. Yeah, very good point. Very nice. Right. So one thing Americans they dislike, especially the middle income, lower middle income, Americans, if American businessmen they are outsourcing, okay, it means that they want to produce in those cheap labor countries, which is bad for them, okay. But if it happens that America's welfare is not lost, if it's not lost, because they are investing in order to get even more revenue, okay? But if you ignore that case, okay, still, because of competition from Chinese side, lots of American companies, even though they are not outsourcing, still, they are getting smaller and smaller, because they are not able to compete. As a result, unemployment rate is increasing, okay? So if you consider the number of jobs created by Chinese investment, okay, thousands, and on the other hand, you count the number of jobs lost because of their influence, the number of lost jobs is higher, all right? So therefore, that's the argument, okay? They are stealing our manufacturing jobs, which means that the created jobs are not substituting those unemployment that was created already. Okay? Good. So now explain the differences between just common corporation and multinational corporation.
Multinational corporation operates in
Yes. So therefore the name is multinational, right? So which means a corporation which has affiliates in more than one country. So therefore they are multinational. In Uzbekistan, in our country, we have thousands of corporations, yes. Mainly they are all just common corporations, which their operations are within our country. Okay? Good? And what's the difference between multinational parent and multinational affiliate?
For example, in case of Coca-Cola, so the headquarter is in the United States, which is taking decisions, and the second one is, for example, in Uzbekistan, which is struggling with local issues, not global. So that's the difference.
So affiliate. In Uzbekistan, it's affiliate. So parent is in Atlanta, Georgia, headquarters, which means they are controlling, and all those affiliates, including in Uzbekistan, that Coca-Cola, they are controlled, right? Controlled. Okay. So one more question: what do you, is it a requirement that headquarters should be located in origin country?
No.
No.
No, right? No. That headquarters can be in other countries too. American multinational company, but the headquarters is in Germany or in some other country. It's also highly possible. Okay, good. International portfolio investment and international direct investment. Foreign direct investment. How are these two different? These are main two types of portfolio investment. We are saying international one, okay? Portfolio investment can be within the country too.
Yes.
So now we are considering foreign direct investment. So how are these two different?
So in portfolio, you buy stocks, bonds, other kind of securities. Like you purchase them.
Yes,
But,
bonds
and
and stocks.
Yes. And in FDI, you get an ownership from the company.
How do you get it?
No.
Like-
In FDI, you like, for instance, KFC. You build KFC.
You also in FDI you also buy stocks, yes?
You buy stocks, but consider the case of KFC or even Coca-Cola. You come here, invest money, build the building, create jobs, and then start operating. And it's FDI because you are not. It's like you are doing it directly. You can do it from stocks, but company decides how. Like, for instance, if you buy stocks, portfolio, yes. A company decides where to invest this money, which are gained from selling stock. But in FDI, you decide where to exactly invest and what to do.
So FDI, that means more than 10% of controlling stocks. So that means that you are in directory board of the company. Portfolio, that means you have your own branch, you have your own like percentage of interest, but not less than 10%. That means that you are not decision maker.
Okay.
But in FDI, you are decision maker.
Good. Look, in portfolio investment can be invested in purchasing stocks. In FDI also can be invested into stocks, okay? The difference, according to American and OECD standards, if it's less than 10%, then it does not give for the investor that controlling power, okay? So passive type of investment. While if that investor owns more than 10% of investment, okay, that is stocks, it means he is a decision maker in the company, has rights to vote, okay, and he actively or she is actively in that business, okay, running the company, that corporation. That's the difference. Good. All right. So now maybe that KFC case may help now, okay. Greenfield investment and brownfield investment. How are these two different? Existing. Good. Greenfield, that investment is made and the production facility, the company is established from zero. Okay? The KFC case that we have today, Coca-Cola, they did it from zero. Our Daewoo company, Daewoo, it was established from zero, from scratch. Okay? That one was also greenfield investment. Okay? Regarding brownfield, as you already mentioned, investors, they invest to the existing company. GM Uzbekistan, is it brownfield investment or horizontal now?
Brownfield.
Brownfield, right? Because when in 2001, when they were going through financial difficulties that headquartered in the in Korea, they decided to sell it to what mainly belonged to them. Then they changed their names from Daewoo to GM. Our Daewoo became GM Daewoo. What changed? Only name changed, okay? For example, if you consider those cars that we are driving today, that when it was Daewoo, that we used to call those cars Windstor, okay, Windstor. that windstorm today, the name is what? Captiva. Okay? The name and the original name was, in Daewoo, it was windstorm. But it's now Captiva. Same design, nothing changed. The only, the Chevrolet logo changed with that Daewoo. They replaced it. And name. Or another, that Tosca, which used to be in Daewoo, they changed the name into Epica. Okay? The Epica, the name was when it was Daewoo, Tosca. So name change, logo change. This is it. The remaining is the same. Brownfield will be the existing country. Okay? Good. And what about that horizontal FDI and vertical FDI? How are these two different? Horizontal FDI. What was it? Yep.
For example, if they will come to closer their customers in order to sell their products. The purpose is just avoiding from tariffs.
Okay.
If there is a high tariff, that customers will move to another product. Yeah,
These are one of the conditions,
yeah.
okay? So let me once again explain. I think I forgot during the lecture to just highlight important part. Horizontal FDI, okay? Why do they invest? It's the investment type, homemade production is produced in a foreign country. Same. Coca-Cola is horizontal FDI. They are producing exactly the same Coke in the United States, and they are producing the same good in our country. All right? Or KFC, they are producing the same, they're frying same chicken type, taste, and they also frying same taste chicken. Okay? So now they are producing. So they was the same, horizontal. They were exactly producing same cars, like Tico, Damas, okay, and Nexia, and they were producing those cars here too. All right? Good, horizontal. And the purpose, as she mentioned, why they decide to do it, to come closer to the customers, to have bigger market share, so they will be able to offer for that cheaper price. Okay, good. What about vertical one? In horizontal, we said that one foreign country, they are investing to another country, right? And they are producing same good. Coca-Cola, Nestle, okay? But regarding vertical FDI, do they produce exactly the same good? No, okay? So we said that in the vertical FDI, that chain of production is divided. Okay, they produce. So in this case, for example, if it's German car maker BMW, right? BMW. For example, they also invest in many countries. Okay, they have lots of vertical FDI. For example, Germans, let's suppose they invest into China. Okay, are they producing the BMW cars in China? No. No. But they are producing in this country, for example, tires of BMW. Let's suppose. Okay. One part of this manufacturing is produced in another country. Okay? And they produce, for example, leather. So they need leather for that inner design, right, of a car. For example, in Australia. So another part is they have vertical FDI they are producing here, and they're using it to make that car. Alright? Exactly same product is not produced, but part of it produced. It is vertical FDI. Okay? Vertical FDI. And we said there are two types of vertical FDI. First one is backward vertical FDI, and the other one is outward vertical FDI. Or in other words, backward, producing in another country and taking back. Producing and taking raw material. For example, BMW opened its own company in China. They are now producing nice metal, which is needed for making cars, and they are bringing metal backward. Okay? But vertical FDI, okay, the outward vertical FDI, regarding that one, you may consider, they are not producing, but expanding market share by investing. I will explain. Regarding backward, I think you understood, right? They are investing and opening their companies and taking it back. Why? What if this German BMW just buy it, from China, that imported, without opening the company?
High risk.
What kind of risk?
For instance, if this company is not going to sell anymore to BMW because of some political reasons or anyway, and BMW will be without steel.
Disadvantage.
Or second factor is that producing by yourself is anyway cheaper than buying from someone, because someone will have some profit there.
Okay, good. Right. So we already made some discussions, right? So one Chinese, they make decision to produce it here to have stable supply of metal. All right. So let's say it's highly possible that some other manufacturers of car, Toyota, okay, Japanese Toyota, they will be asking those Chinese to supply them, and for which they are offering a bit higher price. Because higher price, they may decide to, after just finishing that 1-year contract, they will start supplying to Japanese. Okay. In order to avoid that kind of fluctuation in the market, they try to invest. Good. Okay. So, look, vertical FDI, outward vertical FDI. Some students, I heard it from students that in Tashkent we have the Mercedes car shop.
Yeah.
Yeah? Who does it belong to? Someone said it's, Sardor Ltd or something. If it's really Sardor Ltd, it means that it belongs to that businessman, right? If it belongs to one Uzbek businessman, it means, this Mercedes was built by that gentleman.
No, we have official dealers of that car.
So we have it? Official dealer. Okay. So let's suppose it can be two cases. One private business, okay, can establish here. They can bring those cars here, okay, using their own resources, and sell it from here. All right. Or if it's official dealer, all right, which means that there is the proportion of the investment made for building this shop by that headquarters in Germany. Why are they opening in Uzbekistan?
To get market share?
Because they want to expand their market share. Okay? They know. They think strategically. In Uzbekistan, we have so many people, okay, especially in Tashkent, who are very rich, and they don't care about the price of a car. What is important for them, they like it, this is it. If it's $500,000 or $600,000 for them, paying is nothing. Okay, here's the money, just give me the car. What is, that is probably, important for them? Time and convenience, okay? If Mercedes do not invest into our country and open this dealership, shop, okay, they will not be able to attract those rich elite of Uzbek people. Once they see it, they will come, car, it looks nice, I will buy it. Okay, it's good for me. But otherwise, even though that if they want to buy those Mercedes cars, they have to order, they have to transfer money, they have to wait 1 or 2 months that car to be delivered, and it is going to stay in our customs office for a few days or months, right? Which is all very disliked by those businessmen. In order to avoid those kind of disadvantages, they usually try to establish this business through their vertical FDI. So they invest and they make that ready products made in Germany available here and sell. Okay? Good. So now, after this graph, I will give you a break. Okay. So now we are considering a country, right, important graph, which you may have as essay type in the final exam. Country A, quantity and price given, and this is demand curve for goods. And there is good 1 produced, and there is good 2 produced. And it is offered for people. So we see that for good 1 there is more demand. Why? Because it's cheaper. Cost is cheaper, price is cheaper. For second one is the market share is low because the price is high. Okay. Let's suppose that this country was able, to minimize the price by, this is maximum, the lowest price possible. Okay? And there is no any other way to reduce the cost. Let's suppose in this point, now they have market share of this much. If they want to expand still their market and they want to sell more goods, what should they do?
Begin with decrease the price.
I'm saying that it's on a maximum possible. So therefore I said it's maximum possible.
They should explore new markets.
They should explore new markets, which means they have to export, find foreigners who are interested to buy their goods. Yes? Okay. Let's suppose they found another country people who are willing to buy. Are they able to sell with the same price? Why? Because of tariffs, yes? Even though they are able to offer for that price, because of that country's, trade, barriers, they will be selling for that extra cost. People will be buying for this much. As a result, the market share will be less in this country. Is it good?
But still they get extra. So
Still good. Why? Because they had only this much market share, but now they have this many extra. In terms of good 1, what about the good 2?
Good too.
When there is tariff, the price is higher than the maximum, affordable price.
Yeah.
Which means that good 2 is disadvantaged in this market. They are not able to sell any single good. Okay? Good. Let's suppose this company, they want to, regarding good 1, expand their market share, while the second, good, they want to have their market share at least this much. In this case, what should they do?
They should organize customs union.
They should open factory there, plant.
Okay, well, that one is also okay. We will consider the second that case. Okay, first they have to invest, right? If they bring investment, they will be producing that good here, and they will be able to supply for this cost, yes, for this price. And why it's not imposed by tariff? It's produced here. It means homemade good, no tariffs. Good, okay. So now, what about fixed costs? Investors, okay, investors, before making investment decisions, they take all the measures. They calculate all the possible costs, okay? First thing, they can do is just offer the original price and sell it, export it, okay? Which will cost for those buyers this much higher with the tariff, okay? This is one first way of trading with another country. Good. If they want to avoid this tariff, they should invest and open. If they want to open that business, they have to incur some fixed costs, yes? Fixed costs. So they will look, okay, there is fixed cost, and there is, on the other hand, just export. If the calculation shows that fixed cost is greater than this, they will not make decision to invest. They will make investment decisions if it is fixed cost is less, because over time they will be able to cover those costs. Okay? Good. But of course there are some exceptions, alright? even though fixed cost is higher, okay, even in a medium run, they still invest. Why? Because that production they invest and produce, that production they are going to do, it is strategically important good. Like oil, gas, okay? Which means they are trying in advance to get that market, that resource. Chinese are investing in very high-risky countries in Africa, yes, to get those oil sources for them. Okay? I don't know regarding that one, whether the cost is high or not, because it's strategically important, they make that decision. But it's an exception. Okay? Good. And our student, she was mentioning about economic integration. If these two countries economically integrate, which means they sign free trade area or customs union, okay? According to the rules, there is no tariff. They will be able to offer their goods with the same price, yes? In this case, will they invest?
No,
Yes,
but
yes.
transportation cost. Yeah.
Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, for example. Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, yes? For example, if you consider that aqua, which we are producing in Tashkent, right? Are we supplying these aqua goods, you know, those durables to Pakistan? No, today, are we supplying it?
Yes.
Yes, right? We are supplying to Pakistan. It's taken from here. If you consider the distance between Tashkent and Pakistan and any part of Tajikistan, it's much closer if you are able to supply to Pakistan. We are also able to supply to Tajikistan any part. From here, very convenient going to Tajikistan. So there is no incentive for investment. But I said, if there is something available here, then they will make that decision. What was it?
Strategical,
They are producing at home. It means that strategic thing is produced at home. What was it? If they figure out, if Uzbek Artel, okay, the company, they figure out producing in Tajikistan is going to be cheaper, why? Because they have comparative advantage in that production, then they will make decisions to invest. In Uzbekistan, it's maximum possible cost, the cheapest cost. But if they produce in Tajikistan, they will be able to produce it for cheaper price, which will increase their market share in Tajikistan, one, because it's cheaper to produce here, more efficient, most of the production will happen in this country, and it will be imported home from there. So the market share in Uzbekistan also will increase. Is it the only case? No. It has additional benefit. Here market share is growing, here is growing, where before integration, that Artel, Uzbek, you know, that electronic making company, they were offering with this price, yes, to the world market. With production in Tajikistan, they are able now to offer it for cheaper price, which means their market share in the world will increase, okay? That's good, the one good thing about economic integration, okay? It's when there is comparative advantage. This is exercise 1. So now this is very important. So now we will see how things are going to change in world output, again, the welfare, when there is investment between the countries. All right? So now let's suppose, you know, this is combined graph of two countries, okay? This curve represents that value of marginal product of capital for country 1, and this one the value of marginal product of capital for country 2. Two nations, okay? It's possible if you draw it, it's possible to draw it in two separate graphs, okay? You can do it. But now we need it in one graph to show certain important gains from investment. Okay? Good. So now let's suppose, to simplify our exercise, there are two countries in the world, only two. Let's suppose these two countries are, first one is US, okay? This is US, and India. There are two countries in the world, okay? So now we have this given. So now suppose there are two countries in the world. So nation one, which is the United States, and nation two, which is India. And combined capital of these two countries makes $1,000, okay? This horizontal line represents combined capital. Total capital, you combine of these two countries, which is $1,000, okay? Good. And here, and so now we have another data. Out of this $1,000, $800 belongs to the US, okay? So this is American capital, $800. And now we see that the remaining $200 is Indian capital. So America now is capital abundant country, okay? 800 American, 200 Indian capital, okay? And these curves, I already said, they represent value of marginal product of capital, which means that each point of this one will show us how much return that capitalist will gain if he invests. All right? So now I will explain in just a second. Also consider that the factors of production are capital, labor, and land. And there is the fourth one, yes? What is the fourth one? Capital, labor, and land. To make capital spend in the most efficient way, to hire the most efficient workers, and choose the right place, land, okay? There is a need of entrepreneurship skill, okay? The fourth one is entrepreneurship skill. To get maximum efficiency from these factors of production, so there is that fourth one is also needed, okay? So in this case, just ignore that fourth one, okay? Consider only three: capital, labor, and land. Number one, in the absence of international capital transfers, find the total output in both countries. So now we are making an argument that American capital is spent in US, in the US. Indian capital is spent in India. No capital transfer from one country to another, okay? To another. So if $800 is spent in the United States, what will be total output in this country, graphically?
20.
Graphically. 800 is American. This curve is American, yes. So which means this curve, this trapezia, yes, will give us total output, right? This shape will give us total output of the US. And if this 200 spent in India, so this curve is India, so this shape will give total output in India, right? Okay. Now, let's first understand the graph, right? Okay. If American capitalist spends his $800 in the United States, the return on capital is 10. Okay? This is the return, revenue that he gets. So which means this rectangle represents gain, okay, the return for spent capital. Okay? And while in India, if Indian capital spends this $200, return on capital is 40. Okay? Good. So now, what does this triangle represent?
Surplus.
Output.
Is it consumer surplus
Consumer.
or producer surplus?
Produces
Consumer.
Consumer, producer, consumer. So it's none of them. Okay? So here, this triangle represents cost. Cost. We are saying 3 factors of production. Capital is spent for the cost of labor and land. This triangle represents labor and land. In the case of US, it's too big, right? Why? Because labor in the United States wage is very high, it's expensive. Because they are paying high salary, the return is less. On the other hand, in that rich country, developed country, land is also expensive. Because these 2 factors of production are expensive, okay, so cost is high. Do you understand? So because the capital is spent at $800, that most of the share of that capital is spent for paying for labor and land, so therefore the return is small, 10 only. On the other hand, in India, the return on capital is very high, yeah? Why? Because labor is very cheap in this country. And land is also cheap. Because this cost of these factors of production is small, okay, less, so return on capital is high. Do you understand? So, cost and return on capital. If it's more expensive, return will be less. It's fact, okay? If you understood this graph now, you can easily calculate those total outputs in these both nations, yeah? So now we are in the first case, we are saying that capital transfer between countries is not allowed. Yeah? It's not. Americans are not investing. So A, we are asked to find total outputs in both nations. Total output in the United States first, which represent with this shape, yeah? Yes. US. First one, the cost, the cost, total cost, yeah? 1/2 because it's triangle, times 50 times 800 capital spent. So it will give us 20,000, right? 20,000. Good. And there is return on capital. Second one. 10 times 800, which is 8,000. Total output in the United States, 28,000. Good. We found in the case of US. So now we can do the same in the case of India. India. So that cost 1/2 times 20 times capital spent is 200, which is 2,000. And return on capital 40 times 200 is equal to 8,000. Total output in India 10,000. Okay?
Good. I have a question.
Yep.
Why have you written there as 50 in US?
Here?
Yeah.
50. Here. This is the return on capital, this is a cost. 50.
Ah, got it.
From 10 to 60. Okay? Good? So now, we got it, we solved it. Next, compare the returns on capital of both nations. Return. When I'm saying return on capital, I'm not telling you this return, okay? Now you can see that these two 8,000s are same, right? Return on capital. But if you consider the fact, it's 8,000 comes from 200, while here from 800. It's very different, okay? Another fact, they are different because of these two countries, curves are different, okay? If you consider that, if you compare based on that one, it's a bit confusing, okay? It's a bit confusing. Just ignore that one, all right? So now only compare this actual return, which shows in these numbers. In the US, it's 10. In India, it is 40. Is it different?
Yeah.
Yes. So if you compare these two returns, right? So now you can see that in India, return on capital is 4 times greater than US. Yes? 4 times greater. Good? Next. Calculate the world output. We made an assumption there are only 2 countries in the world, US and India. World output will be the sum of these 2 total outputs, right? See? 28,000 plus American, right? It's American output, plus total output of Indian output, which is 10,000 total, 38,000. In the world, okay, world output is 38,000. 38,000. Good. So now we consider the case where countries are not investing. There is no investment. So now we will consider how things will change if there is investment. Okay? Second case. Consider that free international capital transfers are allowed. Which means if one capitalist wants to invest, he can do it. So now what? Now think about American capitalists, okay? Now return on capital in the United States it's 10. But in India it is 40. So once the American capitalist compares these two return on capitals, it means that for American capital it's better to invest to Indian economy. Why? Because return is much greater. 4 times higher. Which means that the return will be 4 times higher. So therefore, the American capitalists will have interest to invest. Okay? So here's the question. How much investment should be made to this country? Okay? How much investment should be made to this country? So this cross point of this curve is telling us that story. Okay? So this point tells us that if the United States invests this $600 in American economy, it will give them maximum efficiency. Maximum efficiency. And it's better the remaining $200 to invest in India. So let me make some clarifications, okay? Let's suppose I'm a businessman and this, I have the size of my production facility is this classroom, okay? And I have 10 workers. 10 workers, okay? For whom, for each worker, I'm paying $100. For 10 people, I pay $1,000, okay? And we are producing computers. Each worker is able to produce 1 computer in 1 day. 10 workers produce 10 computers, right? Good. It's clear. So let's suppose there is high demand for my goods, for computers. And now, to satisfy those demands, to supply it, I have to increase the number of my workers. Let's say I increase the number of workers from 10 to 100. Now I hire 90 more workers, okay? For whom I will pay now $10,000, yeah? So now, can you tell me, are these 100 workers, are they able to produce 100 computers?
Yes.
No,
Because
no enough space.
Yes.
No, I have space, no problem.
Like productivity will be lower.
No, right? No. Why? We know the fact that there is diminishing return on capital. So this is capital, and this is production. And this curve gives us like this. If we increase capital, hire more workers, and produce, okay, the production will increase, but in diminishing return. Why does it happen? Let's suppose, I'm the owner of this company. When I have only 10 workers, it's the very simple example. If I'm here, I'm able to monitor those 10 workers 24/7. Okay, because I'm here, they are doing their best and producing 10 computers every day. If I hire 90 more, then I have to make 9 more rooms. Yes. So where am I able to control all of them as I'm doing here? No, right? Which means if I'm not in those rooms, there is high probability that they will be drinking more coffee, or they will be talking more that you were talking during the exam, like that. Okay? So as a result, that just simple, that type of attitude towards work will reduce the quantity of production. Okay? So therefore it's diminishing. If you look at this curve, it tells you a lot. For example, then it will become like this, okay? Smaller and smaller. It will be smaller and smaller return. Which means at this point tells you that it is the maximum efficient production or capital should be spent for this company. Okay? If I spend this much for production of computers, I will get the maximum efficiency. After this one, return will be very small. Okay? It's better if I establish totally new business somewhere here. So where by spending this capital, which gives me more revenue. With other business, again, I will be experiencing this. So again, this tells us, this one tells that this $600, okay, the most efficient capital should be spent in the US. This one. The rest will give you the last return. Okay? So therefore, this 200 is more efficient to be spent in India. Alright? Good. Capital is, they see that return is better there, so now they spend $200 invested to Indian economy. If Americans invested $200 in India, what will be the total output in the US and in India? Graphically, $600 now is spent, that capital is spent in US. So this shape will give us now total output after investment, right? This shape. And because this 200 is now active in Indian economy, right? So now total capital used in India is 400. So therefore this shape will represent output of India. Okay? I think now you can easily calculate it, right? Okay. Now, before we calculate, let me ask another question. Once these Americans, they invested that 200 to India, what happened to return on capital?
It's increased.
It increased from 10 to 20. Why?
Because lack of capital. Like capital was scarce in USA because they directed a lot of money to India, and now capital is like scarce. That's why.
So cheap, right? So now please, there were hundreds of companies, okay? Hundreds of companies which were operating in the United States with this $200 of capital, right? So once they invested, well, let's suppose they shut down, they stopped their operation in the United States, yes? Because now they are producing in India, okay? If they shut down these companies, what will it cost? Unemployment. Yes, so many thousands of people were working here, but they lost their jobs because they invested. And there are on the other hand, that employed Americans, yes. When unemployment rate is high, there will be more supply of labor. Yes? So these unemployed people will be competing with employed ones. They will be offering their wages for cheaper. As a result, wages start reducing, right? If wages are, labor is cheap, return on capital will be high. Second fact, regarding land. Let's suppose if these capitalists, they shut down their companies, right? And they are operating their companies in India, you may find, lots of capitalists who do not these facilities anymore. They want to sell it, which is built on land. If they start selling the land, it means now there is more supply of land in the US.
Price will get
The price of land also will be going down. Okay? As a result, cost will be less, return will be high. Okay? So it's 20. What about in the case of US? In India?
Vice versa.
More. $200 investment. They need more labor. Demand for labor increase, which means these laborers will be asking higher salaries. Okay? Wages will be going up. Those American capitalists are not going to build their companies on the air, right? They'll build it on land. High demand for Indian land will increase the price of Indian land. As a result, cost for labor and land will be higher and return will be less for capital, okay? And it is equilibrium point where for American investor there is no more incentive to invest here because the return is same. Okay, good. Now please calculate that total output, all right? So now take a number 2, capital transfers between countries is allowed, okay. So A, let's calculate for the US. Now only 600 spent, right? So now if you can find that cost 1/2 times 40 times 600. 600, which is equal to 12,000. And return on capital 20 times 600, again 12,000. Total American output 24,000. Okay? Good. So now, if we consider Indian case, cost 1/2 times
40 multiplied by
40 times 400. And it is 8,000. And regarding return on capital, 20 times 400 equal 8,000. Total output in India 16,000. Okay? 16,000. After investment. Oh, sorry, this is not calculated. Compare return on capital in both nations. In this case, return on capital of both nations is same. 20/20. Okay? Good. Next, calculate world output. 2 countries, world output. So, just a second. B. So, return on capital in India and US is same. C. World output is American output, which is 24,000 plus Indian output 16,000, which is equal to 40,000. Okay? This is world output now. Next, explain and mathematically show how international capital flows increase the efficiency in the allocation of resources internationally, which is capital, and increase world output and welfare. Did anything change?
Yes.
Before investment, total world output was 38. After,
40.
it increased by 2,000. Mathematically, after investment, world output became 40,000, minus before investment it was 38,000, and the change is 2,000. More. World output increased by 2,000, which means world became richer. Okay? It's the effect of investment. So now, what about welfare? We can say, nations, welfare increased if both nations gain. Okay? So now the answer for that one we will find from the graph. So therefore we need this type of graph combined. Okay? Before investment, total output of the US was represented by this shape, right? Was it? This shape. It was total output. Yep. Good. So after investment, they started investing 600 in the US, right? Then the output in the United States became this, and $200 was spent in India. Who does this $200 belong to?
US.
This is American capital, right? And what does this square represent?
It's Indian output.
No, it's US.
It is return on capital, yeah? Return on capital. But this return is gained in India. Whose capital is this one?
US.
American. And whose return is this one?
India.
American. It's American money. Okay? So this return is American.
This year first 45? No?
No. So this is American return. Okay? So which means that previously, before investment, the shape was this one, right? So now this is American, and this square is also American. What changed? There is this additional triangle, which is net gain for the US, okay? So now,
It's Indian, right? The shape.
no, this is American. Because this 200 is American, and revenue is American. So now this triangle is American gain. In Indian case, it was total output before investment, right? After investment, this output increased by this much. Whose labor and land is this one? It's Indian labor and it's Indian land. So which means this is gain for India, okay? If you have a question, let's say in the final exam, similar to our that midterm exam, you know that assign letter A for a shape which shows Indian gain. Then you should put A here, because you know that it's gain for India. If I ask gain for Americans, shape give that letter B, then you should put B here.
Only
Okay.
here, in this triangle.
Yes. This is Indian gain. Okay. Gain for India. This one is gain for.
But this
US.
Square, you said that this square is belongs to US.
Yes, but before investment, still this much was produced.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
But after investment, it increased by this one. This is net gain.
Will the graph be given?
Yeah, if you have it, it will be given, of course. Okay. Otherwise, if I don't give you this graph, you will be doing all messy graphs. Okay. Good. So, any questions?
No.
No questions? Okay. So now, discussion 16, quickly. Did you have a chance to read virtual material?
Yes.
You did? Very good. So if you did, it will be easy to answer. Number one, multinational companies, okay, try to reduce the potential risks through diversification. What does it mean?
So they allocate their resources to different business, different fields.
Uh-huh.
So if, for example, this should be an example, if one company company shuts down because as
Mhm.
possible is working great.
Good.
Because if it shuts down, it doesn't fit now.
Good. So because they are not correlated, okay?
Maybe they're trying like to try to be the part of our culture, like Coca-Cola tries to be. For instance, they print names of Uzbek names in the back.
Okay, good. So this is diversification because one production is not highly correlated with the other. Next. Multinational companies, sometimes they make investment decisions for the sake of internationalization.
Marketing, brand.
To make their marketing, their name even stronger, okay? Even though it's high-risk country, they still invest. Why? Just to make their name even more popular, okay? Developing countries tend to receive more FDI than developing countries.
So you gave example.
Low risk.
Because of low risk and better infrastructure. Developing countries are the receivers and the sources of FDI. I gave the example of China last week. China used to be only receiving investment, but now they are investing. It means this one, okay? Regarding advantages and disadvantages, you already know. So investment, it means a high economic growth. It creates jobs, more technology, okay, training of locals. Disadvantages, it may cause some, disadvantage to our nature, yes, and it increases the dependency level and others.